Okay, we are to Sherry. Sherry? I think it's Sherry.
Cherie. Yeah,
Okay.
hi.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Hi, Angelo. Hi, Lisa.
Good to see you.
Good to be here. Good to see you guys and everyone, of course. I just went camping for a couple of days and I took your book, Angelo, and I had read all but the part at the end about your story of awakening and how you used inquiry and um how just that grabbing onto it with everything and not letting go. You've described it in different ways, but I guess I never really got that until I read that part of your book. And um, and it's interesting that I read your book like, I don't know, I started about 11 months ago with you and I read it many months ago, but I didn't read that chapter until I was up. So must have just been, the way it was the way it was. But and so I really, really got that. And so that's what I'm working with right now. And I've had some visual shifts for months, but I have had more. And I guess my question is, once the visual field starts changing, everything, I'll just explain what I see now. And I kind of have wondered this for months too. I've been kind of stuck here. I mostly see everything moving, um, rotating, doing different things. But I don't really feel um, the full dissolution, like, the full dissolution, full liberation. But of course, I don't know what that is. Um, so I just kind of wanted to report where I was at and see if you had anything to add or to help me or anybody else who's listening and who's at this kind of place. And I feel like I've been here for a while. So thank you.
Mm. Yeah. It's funny. Sometimes it happens. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes it happens when someone asks the question. The one thing I notice about what they asked isn't what they think they're asking. Maybe. So the thing I noticed is when you said I've been stuck for months or something, few months or something. That's the thing that stood out the most to me. So I'll point to it. Like, how do you know you're stuck? What are you taking reference from right now?
I guess I don't really feel stuck. I just am wondering if the visual field is going to change more. I guess
Mm.
I'm just curious.
Hmm.
Like, um, I did see some different things when I was up in the mountains. I noticed that the trees, things in nature feel like they're crossing into everything, but things like my house and objects don't feel the same, and I can't explain it, but I feel when I'm in nature, I feel more I don't know. I feel the illusion more, but I also feel the realness more.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just reporting and saying hi, I guess.
I totally get it. Yeah. I get what you're saying. I think I do. Yeah, with you it's a subtle thing because there's a lot of clarity there, but I do feel like it's like the subjective pull. It's the sense of self hanging out in there somewhere in a specific way that's like considering this a process, that's analyzing what's there, what's not there. It's almost like something you check back in with without realizing it all the time. You check back in and then you go back out here and check back in and go back out here. And
Hmm.
sometimes when you check back in, it'll turn almost into like a narrative thought of like, this is what's happening for me. It's sometimes I've called it nominalization, like you're naming your experience and it tends to span time. But the naming of it assumes time. Like I'm going through some process like that, right? When we talk
Mhm.
about formlessness, you also see through time. You see completely through the illusion of time. And so there's no process happening anywhere, actually, um, in a very real way of speaking about it now. So I'm only inclined to point you deeper into this right here. I'm not as concerned about the visual field things that are happening or whatever. But that's why I asked about the stuckness. Like, can you find anything that's stuck? Can you even the subtle feeling of it somewhere inside anywhere? Is there anything like that?
I've been looking.
Good. Well, that's good.
Um, so I'm gonna keep looking
Yeah.
because I'm getting the kind of the same thing is what you're saying is that there's still something and I don't know where it is or what it is or but
Hmm.
to just I think that um way of inquiry that you explained in your in that chapter, I think it'll get me there.
Okay.
I mean, of course I know I'm already there, but like you're saying, if I'm there, then how come I still feel like I'm here? You know,
That's what I'm looking for. Where do you how do you know you feel like you're there?
right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like do you feel it somewhere in your body right now, or is it that kind of thing?
Yeah. I'm exploring it. I think there's some things in my chest and my abdomen area. And whenever an emotion arises, then I just go right there. And I think I got when I was up in the mountains that I am turned outward a
Hmm.
little and that the need to turn more inward with
Hmm.
everything. Like that's what I got from the reading was there's nothing out there. So everything has to be in as far as in or out, but you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I'm just going to use, you know, the where am I, you know, intensely, I guess,
Hmm.
as often as I can, like you did in your description,
Hmm.
and trust the process, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I think that's all good instincts. It's like also for you when you ask where am I, that can be it can become conceptual or like it can feel like what's the word I want to use?
Oh,
Ephemeral or something. So sometimes it's helpful to look at
what am I?
well, it can be, but it can be helpful to look at whatever feels most identified in the moment. That's why I was saying like feeling stuck or feeling like something's left or even feeling like the looker, like looking at the most, looking for where is that? Where it's almost like the components of self or the selfing mechanism can also be valuable too to track it down
Okay.
because it can be a little conceptual sometimes to say, where am I? Because you're already making an assumption that there's an I there, right? Or whatever. It depends on the person, of course. So you're finding your own way and that's valuable for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome. Lisa, did you have anything to add?
No, it's beautiful.
Okay. Thanks, Cherie.
Thank
Let's go
you.
to yeah. Let's go to Sarah.
Hi, you guys. And Angela, I haven't checked in with you in a while. And Lisa, I'm really excited to see you on here. I messaged my sister that I was like, fangirl, because like Lisa Cairns is on this Angela call today.
Mm,
And Lisa, you kind of, it's interesting how these calls, like, I feel like a lot of the questions kind of end up being in the same, similar kind of categories and stuff. And so Lisa, you kind of answered what I wanted to talk about, but I'll still just talk about it anyways. And things have just felt really intense recently. And I've, found myself really reactive and I've got 4 kids. And so it's really hard. And that means, wow, and I always cry on these things too, which is good. Because part of what I wanted to talk about was just like feeling this like need to release. There's just stuff that needs to release. Um, and Angela, been on here off and on, and you know, I feel like your guidance to me has just been like awakening kind of through the emotion body. And so that's kind of been my focus and practice. And like I said, it's just been really intense. And I think part of the struggle is just sort of the reactivity when I am feeling this way, and not wanting to react in the ways that it happened. And so, you know, just been trying to be with it. And Lisa, you talked about inquiry, you know, like who's the one that is frustrated, or where is the one that's frustrated? And then just trying to embody it, and you know, find myself trying to distract, like grabbing my phone and just noticing that and putting the phone down and just being with it. And I know everything shifts, and you know, I know it's cyclical. I know when you're in it, it feels like it's always going to be this way. But I know through practice and experience, so that's not true. And that even though it feels like it's been this way, even the subtlety of it shifts and ebbs and changes. It's not like it's just like this and it's stuck. So I guess, you know, my brain says, you know, just being with it, or, you know, questioning the thoughts around it. But if there's any other pointing or any other suggestions that you have, I appreciate it.
Do you want to say anything, Lisa?
I just wonder, I'm sorry, I didn't know if I caught the lady's name, but I just wonder if you know the situation better, or if you don't know the situation, then I can just
I don't specifically.
No, yeah, I'm not. I just kind of pop on these calls, and so I don't necessarily have like a ongoing relationship necessarily with Angela, but I'm Sarah, and
Fair.
yeah, no, so it's funny because it's like my 1 year Angela anniversary where I heard a call he had and had this like crazy glimpse, and so it kind of started my seeking journey, and just everything, like people I've talked to, you know, just kind of keep bringing me back to the emotion body. And so there's this seeking of trying to get somewhere, which I, you know that there's nowhere to get to, you know, like my brain kind of answers these, like there's nowhere to get to and all that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just felt really intense recently.
And your situation with 4 kids, do you have much time off, or are you
I do some, you know, yeah, I do. I mean, just the sense, I don't work, I'm with them, but I run. So a lot of it is, you know, I'll run and kind of listen to audio shanti, like that's what I was doing this morning, or I do yoga. Some, you know, I have ways to probably put them in childcare and then do practice. I do some guided meditation. So I do, I feel like probably just about every day I get a break.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just have a go and see what comes. But you know, being a parent of 4 kids, life really asks everything from you. It's like the ultimate life of service. Like, so, you know, before you had the kids, you had your goals, your wants, your desires, and then when you have the kids, I assume that then there is much more about their wants than their desires. So it's like the external awakening in a way. It's like all your wants or your needs are vanished, and you're in the flow of what life is asking from you. And that's I think that can bring up so much, so many emotions. I'm just projecting onto your situation. I don't know, so I'm just going and letting the mouth speak. And so if you can look at your situation like a spiritual practice at all moments, because in the end, this is what life is going to do to you. If you didn't get into this subject, eventually life will take everything away from you in the form of death. You know, you'll slowly, unless you have a sudden death, but for most people, it's you know, a gradual taking away of the body. The energy levels drop, the physicality drop, the hormones drop. You know, everything begins to get less vital. So life is this is a natural flow of this apparent life, is that it's going to take everything. And so in your current situation, your life is currently about giving. And I assume there's going to be a lot of emotions that come up with that. A lot of feelings about you, about your life, about your wants, your needs, about being seen as you, about not just being mother. I can imagine there's so much that comes. So if there can be like a reverence, I don't know if that's the right word, to the emotions. So the emotions are coming up and you're in the middle of activity. And there is like a reverence to it. Like this is what life is going to do in every scenario. It's going to eventually take everything. It's going to ask for everything from you. And like you say, if you can put the phone down or put other means to escape that down and allow that to come and to really like see your whole life as an absolute spiritual practice and know that what you truly want is freedom. And in a way, let the kids and let the scenario take everything from you. Take all your personal wants and desires.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure what to say to that, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very powerful approach and reflection. Parenting is so challenging in so many ways. It will make you feel things you didn't know you could feel, and extremes of feeling comes with a lot of guilt and second guessing ourselves. Also, it's relentless. There's not a moment you don't have 4 kids. You have them all the time, 24/7. And
And I'm on this call right now, and I'm hearing my husband wrestling with the kids in the background. So I'm trying so hard to be here, to be present.
Yep.
It's relentless in the sense that I can't even be here because I'm hearing him just be like, "Stop doing that! Stop doing that!"
Yep. I totally get it. And also, there's a way to live this life exactly as it is, fully surrendered to, and that's what Lisa's pointing to in a certain way. And death is in a very real sense, death is the ultimate portal. And the beauty of what we talk about is you can access a certain kind of death while physically alive, and it changes everything. So what's the question is like, well, what's the road from here to there? Well, no one knows. It's different for everyone. And it could be a sudden, very, very profound letting go, like a very real sort of death, and everything just looks different on the other side of it. But again, your life circumstances don't necessarily change. There's still 4 children. You still have all the responsibilities you have. But I'm just going to throw out it's a very simple and practical thing. And that is, as I said, parenting is relentless. 4 kids is a lot, and it's just a lot to work on and do and work through and all that. And there's so much of that that's just wonderful. It's like love that you have never felt, also guilt you've never felt, probably shame you've never felt. Like it just comes with so many things. And sorry, I'm just muting someone here. Okay. And it can be helpful to, and it's so full on. It's just like full on 100 miles an hour, it's not going to stop for years. So it can be easy to sort of overlook certain things that are going on internally, right? So what I'm suggesting is you can sort of look into some of the heavier emotions around it. Maybe it's guilt, maybe it's shame. Um, it can even be guilt and shame around certain thoughts we have about being a parent. Every parent's going to have thoughts of like, what would my life be if I didn't have kids? You know, like there are times when we're going to second guess it and realize like how much we have to give ourselves to this. What am I losing when I give myself to this? As Lisa sort of pointed out at the beginning there. But exploring all that and just giving yourself permission to feel those things, they're very natural reactions. Self-doubt, doubt about your parenting skills, doubt about whether, you know, what your life could be like without children, like all the different things that come up, anger towards your children and then feeling guilty because you have anger towards your children, like on and on, right? The emotional cascades are ongoing with children. What I'm suggesting is like a little bit of that internal family systems approach, even if it's not in the official internal family systems process, but like parenting the parent inside of you is feeling so much. It's going to always, it's going to feel doubt. It's going to feel like, am I doing the right thing? I don't know. Do I have enough energy for this? It's just overwhelming. I can't handle this. That's often the process, the internal process of that part of you that is the parent. But you can also parent the parent and just say, it's okay. It's totally okay to feel that, you know, like really give yourself that compassion of saying, it's totally normal to feel all of these emotions, to feel the overwhelm, to feel the guilt, and not to have any solutions. That's the hard part about the parent is the parent's supposed to have the solutions. But you have to give that parent permission to not have the solutions much of the time, at least some of the time, because it's not always going to have the solutions. Because life doesn't need solutions essentially, but also just challenging situations with kids are going to come up endlessly, right? And just really be kind to that part of yourself, that parenting part of yourself that is on full activation and it's going to be for several more years. And just really, really give it a safe space, give that person a safe space, give that mom a safe space to feel whatever she needs to feel, process whatever she needs to process, whatever thoughts come, no matter how bizarre and even scary they are, it's all okay. Like she can have all those experiences because she's taking on a tremendous amount of responsibility. And just having compassion for that one inside, I think can be a balancing thing. That's all I wanted to say.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm coming to your retreat in December, so I found a way to kind of get childcare for a week and be there. So I'm grateful for that. And,
awesome. Okay, we'll hit
I'm
it out of the
curious.
park.
Yeah, curious what's gonna. Yeah,
it's a trip.
what's gonna come. Yeah,
yeah, it'll be fun. Good. Nice to see you.
yeah.
Okay, Lubina, what's happening?
Hey, Angelo. Hi, Lisa. Okay, this last conversation that Lisa had with Sarah, I feel like it really started to make my heart beat very strongly. And this is something that's sort of been happening off and on, where I feel like the loudest thing in the room is my heart. Just gets louder and louder. Lisa, your video on death is one of the most beautiful videos that I've ever seen in my life. I cried so much when I watched it. And I can't believe I'm like so shaky right now. I was sharing with Angelo, death is a theme that's been coming up in my life recently in so many ways. And one of the ways being just very real death in my family, my father being diagnosed with cancer and going through the process with him. My mom getting sick, just watching them get older. And then also having lost people recently in terms of clients that I was close to, as well as friends in the recent years that is just hitting me more and more. Just how much unprocessed grief has been in my system. And then there's the matter of something that I shared with you, Angelo, is like, I guess I'm what people refer to as a medium. I actually see people after they pass, I see their spirits. Something I don't really say on public platforms very much, but it's part of my life. And it feels like with this process of awakening unfolding, it's just getting stronger and stronger. Like during the retreat, I had some very intense and vivid experiences at nighttime. I mean, I was also doing like a fasting detox process because I'm an extreme person and I do many things at the same time. But it's just been getting really strong, and this sense of like impending death, and being confronted with it, and then having this fear come up that I just like come really, really close to, and then I just can't bear it, and I have to distract or move away or find a way. Like for example, I mean, really the clearest example is when it happens when I have spirits showing up in my dreams of either people I've known or my clients who work with me, their family who's passed away, and when I see them, I feel really scared, and it's almost like, why am I scared? It's they're still like energetically they feel the same as someone who's alive, in a lot of ways, but the fear is that they're dead. That's really the fear, that they're like, that they don't have this physical form that I appear to have. And also just my experience recently has been this form just keeps disappearing, especially like I think it was Marie who was saying, like with eyes closed, it's like not really there, especially around sleep, either going to sleep or waking up. And it just keeps dissolving, and in that space it's peaceful, but then eyes open and interacting and being in the world and working with people, and then having these like really intense experiences, both just family wise with confronting the death of my parents. I think that's really like the hardest one for me, because I feel that identity of daughter so strongly. Like I'm a daughter, and all the trauma that I've had has been with around that identity of being a daughter, of being a woman, of being an abused XYZ, and I feel that like really shaken by, I guess, this process, and just coming up again and again, like just that feeling of like I'm about to die, like that's what it feels like, but then just wanting to pull away, but also really wanting it badly. Like that's the weird part about it. Like I really, really like want it. But yeah, I won't say I'm stuck because it doesn't feel stuck. It feels like a very energetically charged process, all of it, But yeah, that's where I'm at. And when you said Lisa was your guest, I was like, this is kind of too perfect. And then what she said to Sarah, I was like, okay, I'm gonna put my shame aside about this whole thing because I have a lot of stories about it, including that I'm probably just going crazy. So leaving that aside and just, yeah, bearing it, because it feels like a safe space to do so with you, Angela.
Well, thanks for sharing. Lisa, do you have anything to say?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And
Labaina, can you
I
say hi
take-
real quick so she can see your face instead of mine?
Hi, Lisa.
Thank you. So yeah, thanks for sharing. And I think it's really great that you do emotional work like you've been doing, like you said you were doing, and body work and releasing emotions. I think that that's really important to do that side of things. But of course, I'm going to want to go to the death, to the non-existence. So the question is are you alive? Or who is alive? And in order to die, there has to be somebody that's alive. And that somebody that feels like it's alive is a seeker. It seeks through time. And it's experienced. And there's something that's experiencing that seeker, that form. that doesn't want to die. And it comes and goes, that one that doesn't want to die. And what is it that it's coming and going in? And what we can call the big consciousness, not the personal awareness, but the big consciousness, is like a slide or a portal to that non-existence of what you are. It's through the big consciousness, through experiencing, that experiencing on its backside is not happening. It's empty, it's dead. And then on the front side, it's everything. And then the one that is afraid of dying is living in a timeline of thought. And that one that lives in the timeline of thought is never actually alive. It's never actually experiencing. It's being experienced. So the one that fears death, the one that has anxiety, seemingly has anxiety about it or fears about it, was never, ever alive, never conscious. There was always something conscious of it. And so this is the investigation. Because you connect with that which is watching, it becomes like a portal or a slide to this emptiness of what you are, this deadness. But that's not meant as a negative. Nisargadatta Maharaj, he says he's double dead. So you've got this deadness and then you've got this everythingness that's connecting more to that. And with the psychic stuff, I don't really comment on that type of thing. It's not that don't believe in it. I think this universe is the world of infinite possibilities, so everything can appear, but it's not something I really touch. It is within the dream. You notice that consciousness is also aware of that. So just as we go more and more into that, it becomes like the moth towards the flame. You know, it's like there is such a pull towards it. The more that you go towards it, the potentiality of the disappearance. But the one that's afraid isn't alive. And that's the key. So you cannot be born or die. Your dad cannot die. Your mum cannot die. No one can die.
Well, it doesn't get any better than that. That was beautiful. How does that land, Labina?
It calms things down, actually. I don't feel as agitated.
In one sense, it's what we avoid with everything we have. Not death, but the dispelling the illusion of life and death. But when you are pointed to it that clearly, then all of a sudden it's actually the most interesting thing that could be explored in a way. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Aaron.
Hi, Angela and Lisa. Like the last speaker, Louvain, I recently lost my father to uh, liver cancer. And it's been really difficult for me because it's been like a lot of expectations from my human or what appears to be a human family being there for my father, um, and identifying as the oldest son in the family. And sitting there and watching my father appear to be, his body going through a degradation over what seemed to be time, and watching him die was kind of difficult for me while to disidentifying with the character of who I am or what appears to be of who I am. And it's been a lot of emotional turbulence with siblings and my mother of just being there. I have noticed that as I not looked at myself as moving through time, but just staying with the awareness of love and compassion for what appears to be a father dying of an illness, it helped me to always be there at the right moments of just not paying attention to what is it, Chronos time, and just paying attention more to the love and compassion of being there, of appearing to be what is a moment of what was happening, and having compassion for that moment. I found that I was always there at the right times when he had to speak to his doctor, and being there and being able to speak for him and helping my mom taking care of him. But it's been a lot of just confusion in my mind with the identity of what appears to be the oldest son in the family and identifying with that character. And I just wanted some insight. My question was just some insight on staying at a level of stillness while going through while going through this moment, going through the whole process, because this recently happened 2 days ago. So it's still like a lot of turbulence, emotional turbulence and sadness and grief in the family. And I just wanted just some pointers on staying with a still mind and not identifying with what's going on, but being there and being present and having that love for the moment of what is happening.
Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that, first of all. And that's a lot to go through, of course. I mean, my first inclination is to tell you that I'm moved by how much like emotional responsibility you're taking for all this, and how much clarity there is, and um, just regard for the whole process and your family and your position in the family. And I'm also inclined to say, make sure you have space to grieve yourself, because if you're the strong one in the family, it can be easy to overlook your own grief, actually, because you're really tending to others and doing the practical things. When somebody dies, there's practical things that have to be dealt with and all of it. I don't know how much that is your role, but I assume a lot of it. And so just make sure you have space to grieve at some point soon, and it could be with a friend that you trust, or that you can kind of, just let them hold space for you for a bit, and let yourself feel everything. And to answer the question about stillness, I would say don't hold that too rigidly as a goal necessarily, because we can turn anything into resistance by insisting that it's there, or trying to preserve something. If there's not stillness found in this moment, that's okay too. And whatever's found in this moment is okay, or whatever appears. And so, but at the same time, I understand where you're coming from with the question. I understand it, and I understand your commitment to truth and to stillness and all of it. I will say that the stillness in a situation like this isn't found in sort of meditative states or getting away from the experience. It's actually found more in seeing what you might be resisting, and stop resisting it. whatever that is. If it's an emotion, that's usually the portal to stillness, is through the place you don't think stillness might be in that moment. So just remain really wide open, and you feel pretty open, which is great for having just gone through so much, and still, of course, still going through all of this. You feel pretty open and heart based, which is really wonderful, and I'm sure it's a huge benefit to everyone around you to have you there. Uh, um, at the same time, there's always a potential for some resistance to come up in situations that are like this, and just being open to, if you see it, to just noticing the resistance, and then not adding resistance to that, just letting it be what is. And by being aware of it and feeling it, embodying it, contacting it, sometimes that is what leads us to the stillness in those moments.
Okay, understood. I understand. Can I just add one point to that?
Of
So,
course.
is it okay? So it is okay to grieve and to feel sadness for what is apparently happening, even though it's a reflection of my true self, to feel for the character of who I am or who I'm assuming to be, to feel sadness for this moment. Because I do feel sadness and I grieve. I've been grieving with my family, and it's difficult for me because it's like I feel like as if, after listening to so many different non-duality things and understand and coming to a conclusion that it's not really apparently happening. It's just an illusion of what appears to be happening. And it's like, how do I, how does my emotions play out with living to the expectations of what is apparently happening, feeling sadness for what is happening. And then I feel sadness because, after knowing my father for 48 years and seeing him decline and die right in front of me, seeing his body at a state of death right there, I was there when he died. Well, I came to the house and I seen his body after it already expired. After his body expired, after 48 years and having a close relationship with my father, there's a lot of sadness, and yeah. So
Yeah. Just feel it, my man.
that
Yeah. Just give yourself permission to feel. Yeah.
okay.
And it may sound like a totally different truth, this that I'm pointing to with this, and then that you're feeling with the sadness, and what Lisa was saying about realizing that no one really does pass, but also no one is actually born. Like those may sound very divergent or different realizations, but they're not actually, and they meet exactly. But what you're called to do is I don't know, I'll say it, show up for what is in this moment. So if there's a lot of sadness and grief, man, just let it be there, even if it feels like it's just overtaking you for a time, especially if you have the space for it, you're alone and you just have time to process. You will find the stillness there. You will also at some point find that there's a sort of natural inquiry into, well, who is it that's actually suffering all of this? And that doesn't make the emotion go away necessarily. It'll actually make it more clear, more there'll be, I'll say you, but you'll be more unapologetically willing to feel when that self is out of the way, when that illusion of life and death is dispelled. Um, but yeah, just give yourself space for all this, and you really seem to be doing it already. So
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome, my friend. Lisa, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, just that grief is a really normal process. Whether there is the person there or not there, it's a very normal process. And so just to really allow that grief.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
stillness is found in it, not out of it. And then the next part, if this might not be appropriate now, but It might be actually, is your dad who experienced you, and not the character, not the story, but that was it looking through your dad is all around you still. He's never really left you. So, you know, the heart and the body and the person know that the body of your father is gone, but that who your dad truly is he still, and can never leave you.
Okay. Yes, I understand. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Yusel and Melody.
Hi, Angelo. Lisa, I've watched some of your stuff before. Angela knows me. I was listening to Tomiko, and I had this little epiphany that sort of worked for me. And I've been hearing it said in a bunch of different ways throughout this thing, and I probably made up a word. It was around identified and identity. And I've been able to see lately um, that whoever I think I am is a thought chasing a thought. I could sometimes see the thoughts chasing each other. And I took apart identified to identified. I made up a word, identified. And I came up with who is this I that's identified? And to me, identified is like a tooth, a separate formed tooth, and there are all these separate parts. And when I have like a constriction in my chest or something, that feels dentified. And if I go into it, there's nobody there. If I have a thought that I identify myself with and I go into it, there's no one there. If I saw a roadrunner out there outside my window a few minutes ago, if I felt it was separate, it was dentified. And so instead of trying to investigate the I, investigating the identified parts, the parts that feel separate, the emotions or something. I don't know if that's making any sense to you, but when I went to write it down as a note, who is this I that's identified? Android took who and wrote ego. So there's probably the answer, but anyway, it feels like the right track, and whoever probably thinks that's the right track is the one that's identified. But do you have any comments on what I just shared?
Do you have anything, Lisa?
I just think that's beautiful. Yeah, lovely to do that. Like, yeah, to keep questioning in that way.
Yeah, I like it. It's so organic. You came up with it, and it makes total sense how it came to be, that sort of investigation. I like that it's like a sentence, right? It's a noun and a verb, right? For me, everybody's different. For me, I don't know if it would have made sense to look for an I exactly, or a self, because that probably already felt somewhat conceptual, but the selfing is important. The looking for the selfing. What is that? What revs it up? What gets that selfing going? What does the selfing want? What is the selfing trying to accomplish? It's a very dynamic process. Maybe why it's a little harder to track down and so forth. But anyway, I like how that broke down for you into those two aspects that are dependent on each other, actually.
Which two aspects are dependent?
The I and the identifying.
Yeah.
I is like a noun. At least this is my perception of how you said it. I is like the noun, and identifying is the verb. I goes around identifying, but that's what happens is the sense of self gets backward extrapolated through thought. Right? There's no other place to find it because it's only in thought, but it gets backward extrapolated because we don't actually look precisely for the I. We assume it's there, but the assumption is sort of built into thinking. It's built into the sense of doership. It's built into the sense of agency. It's like the agency already assumes that there's an agent. And then we don't even look closely to see, is there an agent? So there's value in both sides of like looking very directly for the I or the one or the center or the me. And there can also be value in like seeing, what does the me actually do? What's it trying to do? What is it identifying? Like it's identifying life. It's trying to control life or trying to avoid a painful situation or whatever. So I like that you've sort of broken that down into those different aspects.
The little separate identifications to me are the little separate parts that we're either not looking at or seeing as separate or don't want to look into, whether it's shadows. Those are the identified parts.
Yeah.
Or the thoughts that say, this is me. Well, that feels like a separate identified thing.
Yeah.
When you go into it, it's empty.
Yes. Yep. And you have to kind of trust your own instinct on how, so here's a thing that I see happen sometimes, and I this doesn't necessarily apply to you, but just because we're talking about it, I want to say it. Sometimes I think people will pick up a process like self-inquiry, and they'll look and just kind of see, oh yeah, I don't find a separate self in here somewhere, and then they're done. But it's like, yeah, you can see that you're not going to find it. You can even believe you're not going to find it. It's not really the same thing as dispelling it at an energetic level. That's a very different thing. So having some I almost like tenacity, I guess, about really making sure you're getting to the bottom of things is helpful. And it sounds like you're doing that. It sounds like you're continuing to kind of investigate and look. But it's a little slippery. The ego and the mind are slippery. Thoughts are slippery. They can hide this way and that way. Shadow can pop up here and pop up there and here and there, and then it's not there, and then it is there. So it's good to have a little bit of that. You could call it tenacity or maybe just curiosity. Cool, man. Thanks for sharing. Okay, let's see. We have a little bit of time. Let's do Carrie.
Hi.
Hi,
I
Carrie.
missed the first part, so excuse me if I'm asking a question that's already been asked.
Even
And
if you do,
I
it's still a different question.
okay, great. um, uh, Life is experienced so differently now, and a lot of the practices that are given don't seem to make any sense anymore. So when I go into the senses are all sensed together. I can't separate anything, and I can't separate anything anywhere really. So the sense of self and other there's hardly. I mean, I can go inside and feel a mind talking and feel a playing out of personality, but there isn't really any sense of nothing. There isn't any sense of being identified with that. It's just like it's another sense. It's kind of like a way to explore something, and it's all merged with everything else anyway. So there's like a feeling of life here, or something that I can't wrap anything around. But here I am. I'm still on a call, and there must be something here. Still trying to refine something. So I guess the question is, like, where do you go from here? Like, I can't say that there's been any huge shift. I've had all kinds of experiences from years of all kinds of things, but they seem dramatic then, but now it's just like come and go, come and go. That's what was then. It's not really even relevant anymore, or maybe it is or not. So I can't say like, bang, there was a big experience that said non-dual or you're awake, or it's just been like this gradual shift in how everything is experienced. So I guess the question is, like, do you just let it be and if you show up, you show up. You know, I don't know where to go from here, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you may not need any sort of practices at all, right? I mean, um, the clarity is obvious. So, uh, I don't know. All I can say is at some point, what seems to happen is the sense of being a doer or a practicer or the one trying to wake up or the one failing to wake up, that gets replaced. And the sense that that's driving awakenings or realization or whatever, that whole apparatus just gets replaced by this kind of spontaneous unfolding that's not a personal thing at all. It's like it
Yeah.
is this experience that's already non-dualistic as you're describing in the senses. It's all the same thing. It's all sort of, it has a natural curiosity to it, a natural innocence to it. So could we call it a practice? Sure. Could we call it not a practice? Definitely. That doesn't matter anymore. Even the terminology doesn't matter anymore. So I guess I'm more inclined to tell you, you're already there in that sense. You're already in that just spontaneous unfolding, or however you want to say it, that whatever this is. And maybe it's instead of worrying about what anyone else says or anything, like if you're on a retreat, you go to a retreat. If you're not on a retreat, you don't go to retreat. Whether you're here or not, don't necessarily assume that means anything, because it doesn't. And I guess learn to just trust your own instinct utterly. And when I say your instinct, what I mean, and I know you'll understand this, I think you will, is your instinct has nothing to do with thoughts, nothing to do with concepts, and it's nothing to do with the physical form of that body at all. Trust that instinct, and that's it. That's what I feel to tell you, at least.
Yeah. It feels like that instinct is what, um, it feels like that's everything. I mean, that's what kind of makes life go. I don't really feel the need to do anything. Like things just happen, and it's fine.
I
Everything's
totally agree with
fine.
you.
The other thing I noticed, like listening to people's circumstances, there's like a upwelling of great compassion, and that did feel like it did, like I'm holding here, so it felt like there's something there that like a great deal of, oh, I feel their pain, and then it subsides, like it comes and goes. And I don't know if that's anything to notice, or that's just part of the sensations that are just in the field of everything anyway, like people's pain or people's joy or any of that. I mean, I always felt that anyway, but now it's different. I don't get attached to it or caught in it. Like I used to just suffer with everybody or try to help or make it different than it was. And now I can, it's felt and then it's released. And sometimes that's all that needs to happen. And I find that like my sister's husband is dying, so it's appropriate. There's so many dying stories, but I find like it's really helpful just to be there with somebody and not really have any. It's just being there with them and not really having to say anything, or you can feel it, but it's almost like it's okay to feel it, and it's okay for them to feel it too. I don't know how else to go
I love
around
it.
any of that.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're in a very good place with all of it to me. Yeah.
Okay.
And that
Thank
is my
you.
experience as well. What you described of, because I did go through a phase of like the compassion was overwhelming almost. Like it was difficult because I felt so much suffering from other people's suffering. And then it changed where it's like I can feel a lot of heart-based, I guess, an empathic experience in the moment, but it's not held on to, and it's just gone again in the next moment. It's kind of strange. Like when that first happened, I almost thought, is there something wrong with me? Did I lose compassion or something? But I didn't. It's just when it's not there, it feels like it's never been there. And when it is there, it feels like it's always there. That's kind of that full on experience that just changes and morphs all the time. So I relate to what you're saying with that for sure.
Thank you.
Lisa, do you have anything to say?
just with the compassion thing, like life does really beautiful dances that I find that I really don't understand, but I don't know if anyone can really understand it. But sometimes, you know, the compassion comes and maybe you have to cry for the other person, or you have to be angry for the other person, or, and it's not really the other person, you know, it's the will of God. Sorry, I use God a lot more than Angelo does. It's, you know, like it's God like playing this dance. So the, you know, the crying might have to happen, the compassion might have to happen, the sadness or anger. And if you treat their apparent emotions like your emotions, as in not leaning to them or away from them, totally allowing them to be as they are, then they pass through. Yeah. Yeah. But it
That's
can
beautiful.
be overwhelming. Like it's especially with somebody that's, you know, grieving the loss of, or their husband is dying. It can be very strong to be with.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Okay, we are at time. We're a little bit over time. I want to thank Lisa very much for this. Man, it went by really fast. And Lisa, do you have any website or link that you want me to put with this video specifically so people can find out about your retreats or anything else?
You can just put my YouTube channel or my website. Thank you.
Okay. Do you
Either
still do
one.
periodic retreats as well?
Yeah, I do.
Good. Awesome. Okay. Thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's such a beautiful group and such a beautiful still energy that's created here. Really lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your support of the channel, and I appreciate your vulnerability and participation. See y'all.
Angelo,
Yes.
it's Violet. I just wondered a quick thing. It looked like Carrie painted either crows or birds in her background, and I thought that would be really cool to see if possible. If she
Oh,
had
yeah.
pictures of paintings of that.
Harry.
I
It looks like
do.
either ravens or crows. They're
Yeah,
gorgeous.
they're crows. I did. Oops, can you see them? I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did a whole series of paintings of crows. Can you see them on there? I can't
Yep.
tell.
We can see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm glad you
Nice
like
work.
them. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Adios.